All right, to talk about Royce the 5'9" more because Bad Meets Evil is a duo, and I kind of neglected to talk about Royce the 5'9" more than I should have. So Royce the 5'9" also put out Success is Certain in 2011, so he had a pretty explosive year that year, coming off of some of the projects he had done. But this one got him was starting kind of like with Tech Nine, how he started to break out. Songs like Writer's Block, Second Place, and Legendary had come out, basically cementing Royce the 5'9" as a top tier lyricist. So it's not quite as gripey talking about Royce the 5'9" just because his lyrics don't slack. And I mean, the problem with I had with Royce the 5'9" trying to listen to his projects as albums went along was just the fact of the singles he chose. But I did like the singles off of Success is Certain. Is kind of how I felt with Recovery by Eminem. I like both of them around that time period. And I don't remember if I reviewed Street Hop from 2009. I thought about reviewing that and I think I got close. I don't remember if I reviewed it, but that actually had some uh, extra feels to Royce the 5'9". From what I remember of that project, it was kind of different from what he had done. I mean, it wasn't just an East Coast project, it kind of felt more underground. So that was kind of what he had been up to around that time. But I feel like Royce the 5'9" on Success is Certain was similar to him on Bad Meets Evil. It's kind of the same blend. Eminem was a little bit different just because it's kind of an extra wing of him as far as okay, you just get recovery leftovers and kind of some horrorcore stuff in a new direction. But with Royce, it was entirely different. And I mean, he typically does more lyrical songs and he doesn't always necessarily do club songs and smoking songs and I mean, he considers himself a lyricist. So that's kind of what Writer's Block was, and then Second Place was kind of him, admitting that Eminem was a more top tier. But it's not so much that Eminem is more skilled at lyrics than Royce. This is the fact that he knows how to get on the radio, but Royce doesn't really aim for that. So that's kind of thing. So to say, I feel like when it comes to underground music, Royce is probably number one to Eminem. And this is kind of the fact that he has the ability to uh, do that. So Royce just always chose to be underground as to not sell out and kind of go commercial. But that's kind of why it feels like when you listen to like Lighters off of the Bad Meets Evil project, um, that's why Royce is kind of awkward on the song, just because he has to convert to something that's, for the ladies and for the radio and commercial and that sort of stuff. And that's just not typically his field. But when you see Royce the 5'9" make singles from his own angle, that's kind of what you get. So it's just, that's where I would have come from with that. So, so basically, a song like Writer's Block is very similar to Fast Lane and a couple other songs off of the Bad Meets Evil project, but that's just kind of the situation. So that's what he was up to. What's up, folks? This is Acid Root, so it's time for some more Eminem reviews, and this one is with Royce the 5'9", the Bad Meets Evil project that they dropped back in 2011. So this actually is kind of like a 1-2 punch because it allows me to review more Eminem, but then I also can review more Royce the 5'9", who I've reviewed a good handful of his projects. So this came out a year after Recovery, and it kind of was showing what Eminem was up to. He took like a break after this project and then came back a few years later with Marshall Mathers LP2. But I kind of slept on this project just because I could not find a beat on this project back in the day that I thoroughly enjoyed. But it's too bad just because this is kind of like, I feel like this project and the Slaughterhouse album are both relatively like similar. They're kind of on the same grounds. The only difference is Eminem is not heavily on like the Slaughterhouse album, but that was kind of what was going on approximately 10 years ago. And it stands to reason because this album is different. I mean, it's kind of like a mixture of Recovery and then the Slaughterhouse album. Those would be the two projects that I would say. And the thing about it is you do get a couple tastes of Recovery on here, but then you also get like this horrorcore in the sense of more underground and kind of low key kind of music. So it's refreshing to hear Eminem return to that after not really covering that since like the Relapse days. That's kind of the situation. It's not quite as fixated on horrorcore, but it's a nice kind of revisit in a small kind of way. So that's kind of what happens. And really, this was an EP. I mean, it can basically be an album because it has about 9 songs, but they treat it as an EP. So this is kind of like a stopgap between some of the stuff that would happen. So there's only 2 singles to kind of go with that. But to talk about the first song, Fast Lane, this is one of the best Eminem singles that I have heard since, throughout the 2010s. I mean, I think with everything he did in the 2010s, this is one of the best. Kind of Not Afraid is a really good 2010s Eminem single. Fastlane's another brilliant one. And, probably like Rap God or some things like that. But this is definitely one of the highlights that Eminem did in the 2010s. Has a brilliant hook. His flow is not messy and kind of sloppy. And he's a lyricist on the song. And as a bonus, it has a feature on there. But it doesn't have a feature, but Royce the 5'9's on the song also, and he doesn't drop the ball. So they both tear apart the song Fast Lane. And I definitely felt like that it was encouraging to kind of hear this song just because there's nothing like this song elsewise on the project. And the hook is just so brilliant. It's so hooky and sing-songable that it left me hungry for the other 8 songs on the project to hear another song as hard-hitting as this one. Didn't happen, but that doesn't mean the promotion for the album ended because you get another taste of like a good taste of Eminem with the song Lighters featuring Bruno Mars. So this one obviously was probably used to sell the album in case you're not into hardcore or horrorcore rap music. And Bruno Mars basically has, a brilliant hook. I mean, that's what he does. He's a singer, so um, I would just kind of have to say that that song was kind of like a recovery Eminem with Royce the 5'9 on it to boot, and that kind of stands to reason because that was a brilliant move on Eminem's part. Because you would have almost thought if he would have had another single like Fastlane, maybe the album wouldn't have sold as much. But the project went gold or platinum, and I think this song had a lot to do with that. It was released just right at the right time. Bruno Mars was coasting off of his Doo Wops and Hooligans project, so it was an extra taste of Bruno Mars as well. So it was just good. It was just good timing. I respect the timing on that song, Lighters. But that was about as far as it went. Really, this was like a summer of 2011 thing, and then you get the rest of the project. So to talk about these other 7 songs minus the singles, I am halfway impressed with this project, but there are a handful of beats on here that do not really fit the bill in terms of what could have been. I think if they would have had more just hard hitting production like they did on Fastlane, it probably would have proved to have been like a mighty win more so than just a casual win. Because that's what this album is to me. It's a casual win. Did not win with bells and whistles and leaps and bounds like an album like Relapse or Recovery or Marshall Mathers LP or the Eminem Show. I mean, it's a good Eminem album, but I can't say much more than it just being good. I mean, honestly, if it would have been treated like an album, if they just would have put 3 more songs on there and made it 12, I get the feeling I probably would have liked it a little bit more. But the thing about EPs is when you dislike a handful of songs, it really detracts from it because there's only so much an EP can give. So, but to talk about some of the hard hitting songs, really, I'll just go ahead and list the songs that I like because there were 6 songs that I enjoyed out of 9, but that's not saying too much, and I'll say why in a little bit. But A Kiss, Fast Lane, Lighters, The Reunion, Welcome to Hell, and Loud Noises featuring Slaughterhouse. So, minus talking about the singles, A Kiss had the best beat on here apart from Fastlane, and that's the kind of song that I needed to hear more of. Just the way they did that. That was another brilliant song, and it's definitely a highlight for the project. And then Welcome to Hell had a real ghostly beat. I wasn't expecting that, but it was just so ghoulish. I would have figured that was like a real good kind of song and stuff. And, Eminem you know, I mean, another theme on here is they kind of rap quick. They kind of have like a try to do a real syllable flow where they're trying to do a lot more syllables than just kind of slowing it down and letting it ease out. But it is tolerable just because they don't quite get into bullet time as much as you might expect. So it's fast, but it's not fast to the point where it's too fast. So Welcome to Hell, Fast Lane, A Kiss, those type songs really have the hard hitting Eminem and Royce the 5'9", and I don't have a problem with it. And then the reunion's another good one. This one was kind of funny just because it showcases some of their status appeal in terms of actually turning down women that they don't want and giving them a hard time rather than the other way around. So it was kind of, I mean, that was a good song. It can get kind of nasty, but I mean, just and by nasty, I mean kind of like an asshole kind of thing, but um, big deal. I mean, it's a good. That's another hard hitting song. And then Loud Noises with Slaughterhouse. I mean, I want to like this song, and I did like it and added it as part of the score. But the beat is not as terrific as I might have liked, and that's the thing. It's really kind of like I would have to say like a B minus kind of song, which is kind of B as in ball, but that just kind of happens to be the situation. I like the fact that the whole Slaughterhouse was on there and then Eminem was on there, but it is not as like this is what I talk about when I say the album is not as leaps and bounds as ahead as it could have been. I mean, Eminem, he handles the song, and so does Royce the 5'9", but it just was the production that was just not as good. I mean, get beats like A Kiss and Fastlane and Welcome to Hell. That was kind of the situation. It felt like this kind of a song that you just kind of chillax to. I mean, it wasn't really. I mean, they don't really have too many club songs on here, and it felt like kind of maybe just like backyard smoking kind of vibes almost. That's kind of what I would have gotten from it, but um, yeah, it just happened to be it's probably the weakest of the songs I've listed for you. So that's kind of the situation of the 6 songs I recommend. But now to talk about some of the songs I didn't like, which just kind of happens to be the thing there. So um, I'm on Everything and Above the Law had very similar beats once you start getting into the verses, and they were just bad. I mean, the thing about it was they were trying to be like really horrific, and they might work for almost horrorcore, but they really did not fit the ears very well. It just sounded like it was trying to be terrorizing, and it did not really come off as melodic and synchronized. And that was kind of the thing about those. I mean, despite how good the verses from Bad Meets Evil might have been on those songs, the production was just so terrible it made it difficult to kind of stomach, and they just didn't work. I mean, I know that they were trying to aim for like a hellish and kind of just terror type thing, but there could have been better examples of how to do that. And then the song "Take From Me" was another kind of recovery outtake that I wasn't really having the taste for either. So those just did not really go over well. I like the idea of kind of getting like some extra recovery Eminem just because that was a solid album from him, but it probably should have had something kind of along the lines of like Not Afraid. I mean, Eminem could have replicated that and created another beat like that. It's not difficult. And we just didn't see that. It just came off as too much pop and too kind of pining for something that millionaires like that shouldn't really have to pine for. So that was kind of the thing. But I'm gonna give this album me liking 6 out of 9. I'm gonna give it like a 7, just because I feel like I said, this album is good, but it's not like as effortless as it probably should have been, which is kind of disappointing just because I listened to a song like Fastlane, a song like Lighters, a song like Welcome to Hell, or A Kiss, and they should have easily been able to come up with not just 9 songs that could do that, but 12. I mean, it basically should have been an album. And I guess on the deluxe version, there are 2 extra songs, but I don't know. I didn't want to I mean, if I wouldn't have liked those songs and it would have detracted from the score, I wouldn't have wanted to like I wouldn't have wanted to give this album like a 5 or a 6 out of 10 when it's really the product of the original album was just what it was. So I don't know. I mean, honestly, you can take those extra 2 songs. You get the idea that probably what would have happened would have been maybe, I don't know if it would have boosted the score. It just kind of depends. But um, so yeah, the social score gets a 9 though. I'll give the social score a 9 just because Fastlane was such a brilliant song. Like I said, one of Eminem's best from the previous decade, 2010s. And then Lighters had such a good job. Just all three of them did good. So that was kind of the thing there. But, it was kind of light. I would have liked another underground song, but it was just an EP. So that's kind of the way it was treated. So but yeah, so that's kind of the thing. It stands like this is a good companion piece to Recovery, and it's also a good companion piece to the Slaughterhouse album. But it's just not like it's good. That's the thing. It just feels like it's good, but it's not like uh, it doesn't feel like it's not a classic. I guess that's the best way to put it. So 7 out of 10.